Parashat Mishpatim focuses on civil laws, on monetary obligations, laws of damages, and laws of property. And there is a section that speaks about the shomrim, the custodians. A custodian is somebody who's been entrusted with something. He's been given perhaps an animal to look after, perhaps it's some type of property, and he's required to look after it until the owner returns and says, where is my animal, where's that property that I gave you, and then he returns it. And there are 4 types of custodians. The shomer chinam, the custodian who's doing it for free, as a favor. I come to your house and say, look, I'm going on holiday, here's my dog, will you look after him? It's a favor. Okay, I'll do it for you, I'll feed him, whatever is required. Then you have the shomer sacha. This is a person who's being paid to look after the object. And they negotiate a certain amount, and when the period is over, he's paid. Then you have a socher. This is a person who is renting something. I am renting something from you. Perhaps you rent out bicycles, and I rent your bicycle to use for a race, whatever the case is, and then I pay you after the time. And then you have a shoel. You have somebody who borrows something. So he is having the favor done for him. He's not paying anything, and he's getting the maximum benefit because he gets to use the item completely for free. And the Torah says something very fascinating about these custodians. They don't all have the same level of responsibility. A shomer chinam, an unpaid custodian, basically only has to pay if there was gross negligence. If the item was stolen, if the item was kidnapped, taken away, broken, died, he doesn't have to pay. But if he was negligent, then he has to pay. A shomer sacha, somebody who's being paid to look after the item, well, he would be obligated if the item was stolen. A socher, somebody who's renting something, there's a bit of a discussion about what his level of obligation is. And a shoel, somebody who's borrowing it, he has the greatest amount of responsibility, and therefore even if some type of a freak accident happens to the item, he would have to pay for it. Now, what is the difference between all of these levels of responsibility? Why does this one have to only pay under these circumstances, and this one has to pay under those circumstances? And the reasoning, says the Talmud, is in fact pretty simple. It all depends on what level of benefit you are getting, on what level of favor you're doing to the person. So when it comes to a shomer chinam, somebody who is an unpaid custodian, I'm doing you the favor. I'm really going out of my way to look after your thing. And therefore the Torah says you have the smallest amount of responsibility. But the shoel, the person who's borrowing it, the other person is doing you the favor. You're getting all of the benefit for nothing. And therefore you have the greatest amount of responsibility. So it's what it's doing over here is saying is that your level of benefit relates to your level of responsibility. The greatest benefit that you're getting, the greatest level of responsibility and accountability. And this is a very, very ancient idea, but it's something that is so important in the modern world. In the modern world where people are not prepared to take responsibility, are not prepared to be accountable for their actions. Here the Torah says, if somebody's doing you a favor, if somebody's helping you out, then you have a greater level of responsibility to them. This is why, for example, we have an enormous amount of responsibility to our parents. They don't have to raise us, they don't have to give birth to us, but they did. And they feed us, and they clothe us, and they educate us, and look after us. And therefore we have a greatest level of responsibility to them. This is something that's so important in our era, something that we have to keep in mind. If people are looking after us, if people have cared for us and done a favor for us, we are responsible and accountable to them. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.